Let's continue learning motif 2. Start with the magic ring. Work back and forth. You'll need to change colors during the process. The new stitches are marked on the chart. Now, please watch me demonstrate. First, start with the magic ring. After completing, crochet the first row. Make 2 chains. Then crochet 4 half double crochets. When completed, fasten off the yarn. Close the magic ring. There's no need to slip stitch here. The first row is completed. Next, crochet the second row. Join the yarn above the turning chain. Make 3 chains. Work 2 double crochets in the same stitch below. Including the turning chain. There are 3 double crochets in the same stitch. This is a DC 3-in-1. Work 2 more double crochets in the left stitch. Note that the stitches here might be a bit puckered. Don't miss this stitch. These 2 stitches in the same position are a DC 2-in-1. Continue crocheting according to the chart. When completed, fasten off the yarn. The second row is done. Move on to the third row. Join the yarn above the turning chain. Chain 2. Work at HDC2 tog. That is, in the adjacent 2 stitches on the left. Work an unclosed half double crochet in each. Then yarn over, pull through all at once. The HDC2 tog is completed. Work 2 more chains. Work 1 slip stitch in the left stitch. Consider the previous stitches as a group. Continue and repeat for 3 groups. I will demonstrate the HDC2 tog again. Work 2 unclosed half double crochets first. Then yarn over and pull through. The HDC2 tog is completed. Continue working down. Don't cut the yarn after completing. Secure the loop with a stitch marker. This completes row 3. Continue with row 4. Join the yarn to the first chain of the previous row. Then work 2 chains. Work 1 SC2 in 1 in the HDC2 tog. After completing, work 2 more chains. Slip stitch in the braid below. Continue repeating the previous stitch group 3 more times. Fasten off after completing. This way, row 4 is completed. Now work row 5. Continuing from the loop at the end of row 3. Turn the piece. Work 6 chains first. Then, under the HDC2 tog of row 3. Pick up 2 strands and work 1 slip stitch. Note that you are crocheting on the wrong side. This row involves working slip stitches under the HDC2 tog. Work 6 chains in between. After completing the last slip stitch, work 3 more chains. At the joining position of row 4, pick up the edge and work 1 double crochet. Row 5 is now completed. Continue with row 6. Turn the piece. Work 2 chains. Refer to the chart. Work half double crochets in the chain spaces. Note: some half double crochets need to connect to the SC2 in 1 from row 4. The entry position is on the wrong side of the SC2 in 1. Pick up 2 strands. Work 1 HDC2 tog in every adjacent pair of chain spaces. Repeat this method. When done, work 1 half double crochet in the third chain from the previous row. Fasten off the yarn. Row 6 is completed. For the next row 7 to row 10. Each row is divided into 3 groups. Join yarn for each group. Then fasten off the yarn after completing. The method is similar to rounds 8 to 11 of motif 1. I'll explain some points. When working row 7 with flower branches, make sure to match the number of chains. Weave all the yarn tails to the wrong side. Through the adjacent stitch on the left, in row 9, for the middle group. Work 1 double crochet on each side of the DC5 popcorn. Note that at the top of row 7, there are treble crochet and T are 3 in 1. Here, I will demonstrate the TR3-in-1. This means working 3 treble crochets into the same stitch. TR3-in-1 is completed. Refer to the chart to complete these rows. That completes the explanation for row 7 to row 10. Move on to row 11. Join the yarn above the turning chain of row 6. Work the corresponding number of chains according to the chart. Then, starting from the second chain from the hook, work slip stitches correspondingly. Finish by working 3 chains. Find the first HDC2 tog of row 6. On the wrong side, pick up 2 strands and work 1 slip stitch. Continue working 6 chains. Work a slip stitch into the wrong side of the second HDC2 tog. For all the slip stitches in this row, work into the strands from the wrong side of the HDC2 tog. Continue working according to the chart. After the last stitch, work a slip stitch into the last stitch of row 6. Don't cut the yarn, pull up the loop. Pass the piece through the loop. Then tighten the yarn tail. This is similar to tying a knot. Row 11 is now completed. Continue with row 12. Insert into the top of the chain and slip stitch. Pick up the 2 strands of the braid. Draw the yarn through. Adjust this yarn to be slightly loose. Don't make it too tight. Then turn the piece and make 2 beginning chains. Work 2 half double crochet in the same position below. While crocheting, wrap the carrying yarn like this. This is equivalent to working 3 half double crochet in the same position. Next, work the corresponding number of half double crochet on the left. Don't forget to wrap the carrying yarn. After completing, work 1 slip stitch. in each of the 3 chain spaces below. Work 4 chains in between. After completing, continue working corresponding half double crochets. Work 5 half double crochets in the same position at the top. Note to pick up 2 strands. Rotate the piece. Continue working half double crochets on this side. Continue crocheting in this way. Work 3 half double crochets in the final top position. Row 12 is completed. Now work row 13. Turn the piece. Chain 2. In the corresponding stitch below, work 1 half double crochet. When crocheting, join with the previous DC5 popcorn. Mind that the piece doesn't twist. This is equivalent to a HDC 2-in-1. Refer to the chart and continue crocheting this row. The first half double crochet of the last HDC 2-in-1 should join with the previous DC5 popcorn. This way, row 13 is completed. Continue with row 14. Turn the piece. Start by making 3 turning chains. Then work 1 chain. In the left stitch, work 1 DC 3-in-1. Notice it's in this stitch. Work 1 chain. Skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch, work 1 puff. Work 3 chains. On the left side, work 1 puff. Consider these stitches as a group. Repeat this group 3 more times. Skip 2 stitches between each group. Note: skip 1 stitch between the last 2 puffs of the final group. This group is special. Work 1 puff in the left chain space below. And connect the third unclosed stitch to the corresponding position of the 6th row. Roughly pick up the middle 2 strands. After completing, continue crocheting symmetrical stitches on this side. At the top, for the third double crochet of the first DC 3-in-1, connect to the previous DC 5 popcorn. From the wrong side, insert the hook upwards. Work 3 chains. For the first double crochet of the second DC 3-in-1, also connect once. Continue crocheting. This single puff at the corner. Connect the first unclosed stitch to the previous half double crochet. Continue crocheting this row. Finally, work a double crochet in the turning chain. The 14th row is completed. The following 15th to 17th rows are simple. Follow the chart to crochet. Note that the 15th row has 4 puffs, which need to connect to the previous branches. Just connect one of the unclosed stitches. When crocheting the 17th row with single crochets, the turning chain of single crochet does not count as a stitch. You need to work a single crochet at the joining position. When crocheting the last 2 rows, make sure the stitch count is correct. Continue to crochet these rows on your own. This completes the explanation for motif 2. Continue to crochet the remaining number of motif 2. Continue crocheting motif 3. Still starting with the magic ring. Working back and forth. There will be color changes during the process, similar to motif 2. Just with different stitch counts. Refer to the chart. Crochet the corresponding number of motif 3. Next, crochet motif 4. Start with the magic ring. Crocheting in rounds counterclockwise. There will be color changes during the process. The new stitches are marked on the chart. Now, please watch my demonstration. The first 2 rounds are simple. First, refer to the chart. Use the corresponding color yarn to crochet the first 2 rounds. These are already completed. Now, crochet the 3rd round. Join the yarn in the middle of any DC 2 in 1. Then work 3 chains. Slip stitch in the same position. Pull tight. Continue with 3 more chains. Slip stitch in the middle of the left DC 2 in 1. Work 3 more chains. Slip stitch in the same position. Continue this way. Finish with a slip stitch at the joining position. Pull tight. Fasten off the yarn. The 3rd round is completed. Continue with the 4th round. Join the yarn between the 2 DC 2 in 1 from the 2nd round. Refer to the chart. Work a TR for popcorn. And wrap around the chains from the 2nd and 3rd rounds. The method is: start with 4 beginning chains. Then work 3 more treble crochets. When done, release the loop. Insert the hook above the beginning chain. Draw the loop through. And push the piece forward. Work 1 chain. The TR4 popcorn is completed. Here the first treble crochet is replaced by 4 beginning chains. Then work a CH3 picket. Work 3 chains. Make a slip stitch into these 2 strands. This is the method for the CH3 picket, which we'll call as the picket later. This creates a small hole. Work 4 more chains. Slip stitch in the same position below. Then work 5 chains. Skip the 2DC2 and 1 in the second round below on the left. Slip stitch in this position. Place the chains on the wrong side of the piece. Continue working a DC4 popcorn. Work 4 chains. Then work 3 treble crochets. Pull the loop over from the beginning chain. Work 1 more chain. The DC4 popcorn is completed. Move on to a picket. Work 3 chains. Slip stitch below. The picket is completed. Continue with 4 chains. Slip stitch below. Refer to the chart. Follow this method to continue. After completing the last stitch, slip stitch at the joining point. Tighten. Fasten off the yarn. Round 4 is completed. Now work round 5. Refer to the chart. Join the yarn between the remaining DC2 in 1 in round 2. Then crochet a TR3 popcorn, wrapping all the previous chains. Make 4 beginning chains. Then crochet 2 treble crochets. Leave the loop. Draw the loop through the beginning chain. Then chain 1. The TR3 popcorn is completed. Then chain 4. Slip stitch below. Continue working another TR3 popcorn. After completing, chain 4. Slip stitch below. Then chain 6. Place it on the wrong side of the piece. Slip stitch at this position on the left. Still wrapping the previous chains. Repeat this process. Follow the chart to continue. After completing the last stitch, slip stitch at the joining position. Tighten and fasten off the yarn. Round 5 is completed. Move on to round 6. First, join the yarn in any hole of a picket from round 4. Then chain 4. Crochet 1 treble crochet. Continue to crochet 2 chains. Then work a DC2 bobble in the same hole. The technique is, yarn over once. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw through. Yarn over again. And draw through the first 2 loops on the hook, leaving 2 loops on the hook. This is an unclosed double crochet. Crochet another unclosed double crochet. Once done, yarn over, and draw through all 3 loops on the hook. This is the DC2 bobble. Work 3 chains. Crochet 1 single crochet. Into the left T are 3 popcorn. Chain 3. Crochet 1 single crochet on the left. Continue with 3 chains. Then in the hole of the left picket, work a DC2 bobble first. Chain 2. Work 1 TR2 bobble. Yarn over twice. Insert. Yarn over, draw through. Yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat twice, leaving 2 loops on the hook. This is an unclosed treble crochet. Crochet another unclosed treble crochet. When done, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on the hook. The TR2 bobble is completed. The braid at the top right is its stitch. Work 2 chains. Crochet a DC2 bobble in the same position. Continue in this method. After the last stitch is completed, slip stitch into the treble crochet. Tighten. Do not slip stitch into the beginning chain. This is equivalent to a TR2 bobble. It's a bit special. This is its stitch. Like this, the 6th round is now completed. Work the 7th round next. Start with 2 beginning chains. Work 2 unclosed half double crochets in the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through once. Form a special HDC3 puff with the beginning chain. This is its stitch. Continue working down. The HDC3 puffs at the corner are all worked into the stitch of the TR2 bobble. After the last stitch is completed, slip stitch in the first stitch. The 7th round is now completed. For the remaining 8th and 9th rounds, the technique is simple. For the 8th round, the HDC2 in 1 at the corner are all worked into the middle HDC3 puff of the corner from the previous round. Finish the remaining part on your own. This is the effect after completing. Leave a tail about 3 times the length of the edge for sewing. This completes the motif 4. Complete the remaining number of motif 4 on your own. After completing the individual motifs, proceed to sew them together. Mainly divide into sewing motif 1, 2, and 3. And sewing motif 4. Start by sewing motif 1, motifs 2 and 3. Refer to the finished product. Place the motifs in the corresponding positions. Motif 1 is the centered row, followed by motif 2 on either side. And the corners are motif 3. Use the yarn from the outer edge of the motif. Sew around the outline of motif 1. Please watch my demonstration. Here, take a slightly longer yarn, but not over 1 meter. Thread it through the sewing needle. I will first sew motif 1 and 1 motif 3. Align the corners on both sides. Match the middle corner with the dent. Keep the right sides facing up. Sew this section. Mark the SC2 tog on motif 1. Use the overcast stitch for sewing. Tie a knot on the wrong side, near the corner of motif 1. The first single crochet of motif 3 corresponds with the chain above the corner of motif 1. Work into these 2 strands. From the back loops of the stitches. At the beginning, sew a few more times to secure it. Continue sewing by picking the back loops one by one. If the strand is loose or twisted, you can place the needle underneath the strand to adjust. When you encounter the marked SC2 tag, skip one stitch on the left of motif 1. And directly sew with the next stitch. Continue sewing. When you reach the corner and dent, 2 chains of motif 1 are sewn with 3 adjacent stitches of motif 3. The middle single crochet is sewn with 2 chains once. Follow the texture when threading. This is the method for sewing the corner and dent. Continue sewing down. When you encounter the marked SC2 tag, skip one stitch on the right side of motif 1 and directly sew with the next stitch. The last single crochet is sewn with the first chain of the corner. Sew the joining position a few times and pull tight. Motif 1 and 1 motif 3 are now sewn together. Continue sewing a motif 2 on the left side. Position it correctly first. The first single crochet is sewn with the last single crochet of the previous motif 3. Then sew it with the corresponding chain of the corner of motif 1. Continue sewing down. At the SC2 tog, skip the left stitch. When you run out of yarn, bring the yarn to the wrong side. Tie off and hide the knot. Then take new yarn and sew on. At the corners and dents, continue sewing 2 chains with 3 single crochets. At this SC2 tog, skip the first stitch on the right. The final chain is sewn with a chain. Sew the corresponding chain here. Then take out the second motif one. Position it on the left. First sew the corresponding top chain of both motifs. Continue sewing the motifs using the previous method. When you reach the other side, at the corner where 4 motifs meet, pass the strand a few times to ensure there are no gaps. Then continue sewing motifs 1, 2, and 3. Ending at the first single crochet of the first motif 3. Sew it securely. Finally, weave the yarn tail on the wrong side. This way, The sewing of motifs 1, 2, and 3 is completed. Next, sew motif 4. Sew each side correspondingly. First, take the reserved yarn tail. Thread it through the sewing needle. On the wrong side, thread it to the corresponding chain of the adjacent corner. Then use the overcast stitch to sew. Note that the yarn tail of the other motif 4 is at the top, right? After sewing the corresponding chain of the other side's corner, weave the yarn tail on the wrong side. Continue downward with 10 motif 4s as a group. Sew them into a long strip. This is the effect of one group sewn together. Finally, weave this long yarn tail on the wrong side. Repeat this method for the other group. The sewing of motif 4 is now completed. This concludes the explanation of sewing all the motifs.